But my character he's all those heroes throughout history that have bucked the system, that have wanted or have been desirous of making a change and have actively pursued it.
What if one of science fiction's most iconic portals almost looked like a giant tire? Or that the Stargate's shimmering effect began as a simple garage experiment using iced tea? Behind this cult classic lies a surprisingly chaotic production filled with creative risks, actor conflicts, and design challenges that nearly derailed filming. From dangerous costume designs to last-minute visual reinventions, the making of Stargate reveals a story as fascinating as the film itself. A journey of experimentation, persistence, and unexpected breakthroughs that reshaped modern sci-fi. The Stargate's troubled creation. The Stargate prop, the centerpiece of the entire film, almost failed before it truly began. When the production team first built the famous ring with its 22 glyphs, it looked more like a giant tire than a mysterious ancient artifact. Under studio lights, the flat black paint used made it appear heavy, lifeless, and lacking any real texture. Instead of evoking a sense of advanced and ancient technology, the prop felt cheap and out of place. This visual failure worried everyone on set because the entire movie's atmosphere depended on the Stargate's power and allure. The filmmakers knew they had mere days to fix this or risk the movie being laughed out of test screenings and losing support. Between shooting days, the team made a rapid and risky decision to repaint the entire ring metallic silver. This change was more than cosmetic. It transformed how light interacted with every inch of the prop. Floodlights, torches, and even moonlight bounced and shimmered off the metal surface, creating depth and making the Stargate feel simultaneously ancient and futuristic. Suddenly, the apparent tire became an awe-inspiring portal that commanded attention. This last-minute fix established the visual identity for the entire franchise, not just the movie. The silver gate with glowing symbols became recognizable, appearing repeatedly across sequels, television spin-offs, and fan recreations. Without it, the Stargate might have faded into obscurity. Every detail of the design helped the audience buy into the story, grounding the fantastical elements with practical realism. But the struggles didn't stop with the prop itself. The making of the movie was marked by relentless pressure and unpredictable obstacles behind the scenes. Financing the film was a monumental challenge. Every major studio had rejected Stargate, declaring science fiction too risky or dead as a genre at that time. The producers, Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin, ended up raising the entire $55 million budget independently. This meant every delay, every creative disagreement, and every technical setback loomed as a financial threat. Test screening scores and distribution deals hinged on the Stargate working as an impressive visual centerpiece. Failure in that one element could mean the end for the movie in a very real way. The massive sets, like Stargate Command and the alien pyramid ship, were built inside the Spruce Goose Dome, once the largest freestanding aluminum dome in the world. This incredible venue alone gave the movie scale far beyond its modest budget. Even so, the crew was pressed for time and money, constantly racing to resolve problems. It wouldn't be the last time the seemingly smooth sci-fi facade hid chaos behind the curtain. One of the biggest enigmas on set was the visual effects supervisor's job. Jeff Okun, the man responsible for bringing the portal to life digitally, was fired and rehired repeatedly by director Emmerich. Those clashes might have spelled disaster, yet despite the rocky relationship, Okun kept perfecting the effects under extreme pressure. Sometimes in filmmaking, extraordinary breakthroughs come from moments of tension and frustration. The Stargate portal effect itself broke new ground, but at this stage, the filmmakers had only a dim sense of how it would evolve. The solution wasn't obvious, and every experimental test felt like a gamble. The stakes were high, but the creative sparks flying during this difficult phase would profoundly influence science fiction's visual language moving forward. The Stargate was already more than just a prop. It was turning into a symbol of the movie's resilience against near defeat. That looming struggle with the Stargate's look and feel set the tone for everything else on set, from performances to effects work. The effort to make the gate feel alive and believable under immense time and budget constraints created a unique creative atmosphere. This atmosphere shaped not only the visuals, but the spirit of what Stargate would come to represent. The unraveling of that story is where things get even stranger and more fascinating. What no one on set knew then was that this prop's success relied on an unlikely source. The next big leap in the Stargate effect actually came from an experiment in a garage. Transitioning from the gate's visual rebirth to the swirling portal effect reveals an entirely different kind of innovation, born more from improvisation than traditional film magic. The unlikely portal effect. Behind every iconic sci-fi effect lies a story of trial, error, and often unexpected ingenuity. For Stargate, the legendary portal effect was born in an almost humble setting, a garage. This was where Jeff Okun and cinematographer David Stump carried out experiments that would define the very essence of the movie's science fiction feel. They filled a small plexiglass tank with water, added iced tea powder, and spun it with a wooden beam attached to a drill. When the liquid finally settled, a strange spiral pattern appeared, the now famous strudel effect. Okun recalled that previous film effects had been created using mercury tanks to mimic mirror-like surfaces. Inspired, he filmed the underside of the water at a tilted angle, capturing something hypnotic and unlike anything seen before on screen. This organic swirling portal became the heart and soul of the Stargate wormhole effect. It brought a tactile realism that pure computer-generated imagery wasn't yet able to achieve in 1994. The effect's uniqueness came from its physical origin, real water, interacting with real motion, filmed with precision and patience. The team pushed the experiment further by introducing an air mortar, firing compressed air into the tank to produce explosive water ripples. At 26 pounds of pressure, the water would fly out wildly, drenching Okun completely. They quickly reduced it to just over 2 pounds, allowing them to capture the subtle, controlled koosh effect, the flickering burst of liquid, followed by a receding vortex that perfectly simulated the portal's surface. When Okun nervously showed the footage to Emmerich, expecting another firing, the director surprised him by grinning and calling it fantastic. Years later, when the Stargate SG-1 television team tried to recreate this effect, they faced the challenge of unknown original pressure settings. Their first attempt at 50 pounds caused complete chaos, destroying equipment and flooding the studio. Only after trial and error did they manage to approximate the look, opting for practical water blasts over purely digital effects to maintain authenticity. This commitment to practical effects maintained the tactile sense of the Stargate and added to the franchise's distinct visual style. Interestingly, crafting the full portal sequence was painstaking and labor-intensive. The team shot liquids at up to 120 frames per second, layering frames manually to build the effect frame by frame. Rendering the final wormhole journey on computers of the time took an entire 30 days. This lengthy process contrasted sharply with modern CGI workflows, but yielded a unique visual depth. The stubborn devotion to blending physical and digital elements helped the film stand apart in a crowded sci-fi landscape. Despite these breakthroughs, Emmerich initially hated the finished visual effect, and even fired Okun again. The tension between director and artist boiled over. Tempers flared, and at one point, Okun and fellow artist Jeff Williams shouted at each other on the roof before laughing it off. Eventually, reworking the color layers and compositing techniques won Emmerich's approval, cementing the effect's place in the film. The process revealed the unpredictable blend of conflict and creativity often hidden behind cinematic magic. On set, coordinating the portal effect was no less complicated. Twin cameras had to be placed in perfect mirror angles for actors walking through the gate, with lasers marking the water planes to be composited later. When Kurt Russell learned these lasers could damage eyes, he refused to walk through the gate until crew members proved it was safe by standing in the beam themselves. Even then, he kept his eyes closed, balancing safety with his character's tension. This meticulous attention reflected how every detail around the portal carried real risk and stakes. One of the most fascinating challenges came from the technical demands of morphing effects used on the Serpent Guard helmets, an innovation closely linked to the portal's visual ambitions. But before we dive into those secret complications, the story also reveals the human side of production, particularly the actors whose experiences were shaped by scripts, on-set disputes, and costly misunderstandings. Transitioning from the technical marvel of the portal effect to the drama surrounding casting reveals a film fueled by artistic friction as much as cinematic innovation. Casting, confusion, and clashes. Kurt Russell's involvement with Stargate almost never happened, and the reason was surprisingly mundane, a simple misunderstanding of the script. For years he kept refusing the role without explanation. It turned out he had been reading an early draft that had never been intended for him, a version that was nowhere near the finalized shooting script. This confusion meant Russell repeatedly rejected offers, unaware of how much the project had evolved. The filmmakers persisted because securing Russell was crucial. Without a major studio backing Stargate, foreign buyers cared more about big names than the actual story. Russell's reputation made him the anchor that financing hinged on. When he finally saw the real shooting script, one line summed up the shift in his attitude: "This isn't so bad." That small revelation allowed the producers to offer him $7 million, roughly 1/8 of the film's total $55 million budget. His participation helped Stargate open at number 1 in October 1994, validating the gamble. Meanwhile, James Spader, the other lead, faced a very different reality. Coming from respected quality films, Spader found the Stargate script awful, a fact he did not hide from the press. He needed the paycheck, but wasn't inspired creatively. Oddly, the script's badness became a strange fascination for him, but his frustration simmered throughout production. Spader clashed frequently with Emmerich and producer Dean Devlin over dialogue he found cheap or poorly written. Unlike Russell, who accepted flaws as part of the business, Spader struggled with his standards. The conflict escalated to the point where Spader refused to leave his trailer until the script pages were rewritten. Production froze, crews waited, money drained from the clock, and the pressure on everyone heightened. Producers Devlin and Emmerich grabbed pens and began rewriting scenes on the spot just to resume filming. Amid this chaos, Russell confronted Spader, demanding explanations. The legendary response came when Spader bluntly admitted the dialogue was horrible. Russell's reply captured the harsh reality of filmmaking. "Of course it's horrible. That's why they pay you $1 million. If it was brilliant, you do it for free." This exchange encapsulated the contrasting mindsets on the set. Russell embraced the pragmatic side of acting as a business, while Spader wrestled with artistic integrity in a commercial environment. These tensions were not just personal, but reflected the challenges of making a genre film without major studio backing. Every delay risked not only ballooning costs, but the very survival of the project. Despite the rocky start and disagreements, both actors delivered performances that helped Stargate gross nearly $200 million worldwide, almost 4 times its budget. Even with script problems and on-set struggles, the movie struck a chord with audiences. This success, however, was founded on a delicate balance of talent, tension, and tenacity behind the scenes. The story of casting Stargate reveals how misunderstandings and conflicts can coexist with creative breakthroughs. The mix of talent and setbacks continued across other areas of the movie, from costumes to effects, each with its own hidden trials. As the portal itself blended liquid magic with technology, the human elements of casting and performance wove a complex pattern within the film's creation. Next, we will explore how the harsh desert environment and demanding costumes added another layer of difficulty, pushing everyone involved into new realms of endurance and creativity. Heat, helmets, and hazardous costumes. Filming Stargate's desert scenes pushed the cast and crew to their limits, battling some of the harshest conditions imaginable. The Arizona heat soared well past 120 degrees Fahrenheit, refusing to relent even after sunset. Plastic water bottles melted if left too long under the blazing sun, forcing crew members to bury their drinks in the sand to keep them cool. Cameras often jammed or overheated, and film stock itself warped in the relentless temperatures. Paramedics remained on standby throughout production, knowing exhaustion and heat stroke were constant threats. Actors wearing the imposing Horus Guard helmets faced the toughest challenges. These helmets were constructed from heavy rubber molded over rigid plastic frames, covered in intricate serpent designs that left no room for ventilation or sight. With no eye holes or slits, the performers could not see at all, turning every movement into a cautious, deliberate act. The helmets themselves weighed heavily, measuring about 24 inches across every dimension and taking up to 6 hours to put on properly. Once inside, removing them was equally difficult, making every bathroom break a logistical ordeal. Adding to the suffocating heat, hidden lights powered by real batteries illuminated the helmet's glowing red eyes, which raised the temperature inside even further. Many actors nearly fainted on set, overcome by a combination of desert heat and stifling costume conditions. During the final battle scenes, extras wearing heavy robes had to race across hot dunes under the punishing sun, further taxing their endurance. The practical armor and costumes, designed to impress visually, were merciless on those tasked with wearing them. Despite the dangers, the production maintained a shifting schedule to accommodate the heat levels. Filming often started at first light and aimed to wrap before the worst afternoon temperatures set in. The crew learned to chase the light, carefully timing shots to capture the golden hour's warm glow when the desert transformed into a magical landscape. These fleeting moments of soft light enhanced the mysterious atmosphere of the alien world they were creating and justified the punishing work. Behind the scenes, production teams employed clever tricks to create the illusion of massive crowds without blowing the budget. Hundreds of extras were out of the question, so they devised stick figures wrapped in cloth robes and positioned them in the distance. These simple placeholders looked like villagers or workers when seen through the camera's lens, saving thousands of dollars without compromising the immersive effect. For wide shots during the climactic battle, around 1/200th of the crowd were real extras, mixed seamlessly with stick figures and green screen composites to simulate a throng. The desert set itself became a character, with towering alien structures sculpted directly from the sand and inspired by ancient Egyptian designs. Every take required a team rushing in afterward to erase footprints with brushes and rakes, preserving the illusion of an untouched, otherworldly place. July was chosen intentionally for filming to avoid tourists and dune buggies that might disrupt the environment. This allowed the cast and crew silence and space to imagine a believable alien planet within the harsh conditions. The heavy mammoth creature costumes posed another challenge. Horses couldn't move naturally under the enormous prosthetic frames built to create these alien beasts, so the team crafted smaller versions for dogs. This inventive workaround contributed to the believability of giant extraterrestrial creatures wandering the desert. Despite their size and weight, the costumes added an unmistakable realism to the film's world, balancing spectacle with practicality. Every aspect of costume and set design emphasized the tension between visual impact and physical strain. Actors had to memorize their steps, trust crew members to guide them, and endure temperatures that would overwhelm most people. The heat and heaviness turned every battle scene into a delicate ballet of endurance, where one misstep could lead to disaster. It's a testament to the dedication behind the camera that these risk-filled sequences came across so seamlessly on screen. The grueling environmental factors amplified the stakes for the entire production, where fatigue and frustration intertwined with creativity and determination. The desert's harshness was more than a backdrop. It was an obstacle constantly forcing the team to innovate and adapt. This atmosphere of relentless challenge fed directly into the intensity of the story they sought to tell. From the burning sands and suffocating suits, the filmmakers moved into a crucial yet chaotic period where visual effects demanded unprecedented speed and ingenuity under crushing deadlines. Visual effects on a knife edge. Just days before the film was due for delivery, the Stargate editors shocked the production by demanding an astonishing 66 new visual effects shots. Such a late call could have sunk any project, but for Stargate, with its limited budget and tight schedule, it became a make-or-break moment. The visual effects team faced the near-impossible task of completing this massive workload in only 7 days. Failure was not an option. These new effects would add vital spectacle and fix scenes that felt thin or underdeveloped. At the heart of this race against time was the Domino real-time compositing system, an early and rare technology that allowed artists to see and adjust layered shots instantly. Visual effects artist Mitchell Drain secured access to a Domino machine, which could produce results faster than traditional methods that took hours or days to render each frame. Working around the clock without breaks, the team delivered all 66 shots within the 1-week deadline, and remarkably, every single one worked seamlessly in the final cut. This blitz of effects included blending miniature pyramids with matte paintings of skies and carefully composited explosions. The writers and editors demanded precision, layering dozens of visual elements to create a believable alien world. Using both practical models and digital tricks, the combined effort made the environment richer and grounded the story's high-concept ideas. This last-minute surge of effort saved the movie and helped it emerge as a spectacle worthy of its ambitious premise. Director Roland Emmerich was initially skeptical of digital effects, having a preference for traditional miniature work. But after witnessing tests where bullets froze mid-air and other digital experiments, he recognized the potential for new cinematic possibilities. This shift in attitude sparked a turning point, where practical and digital elements blended to produce visuals unprecedented at the time. The evolving relationship between practical craftsmanship and emerging technology defined Stargate's aesthetic. Despite the movie being produced during the waning days of photochemical film, with 35mm Panavision cameras and Kodak stock, the team pushed the boundaries of what was possible without modern digital pipelines. No instant playback or color grading as we know it today existed. Instead, multiple animation houses worked frame by frame. Optical printers layered film elements, and physical models filled in for digital ones. The combined labor-intensive process demanded patience and precision that still impresses viewers decades later. Meanwhile, inside this technical frenzy, the fraught relationship between Emmerich and visual effects supervisor Jeff Oken played out. Oken was hired, fired, and hired multiple times throughout production. Yet despite this turbulent dynamic, his bold ideas and experimentation drove much of the film's signature look. One famous story recounts how Okun, expecting to be fired once more, brought a final water ripple test to Emmerich, who watched it and immediately changed his tune. The director insisted he never fired anyone because the effect was extraordinary, revealing the chaotic yet productive nature of their collaboration. The bullet time tests and watery gate ripple became symbols of the shifting tide in filmmaking, where digital experiments started to compete with long-established practical techniques. Emmerich's growing excitement led to constant idea exchanges and a flood of last-minute improvements. Though on paper, Okun had been removed, the production still relied heavily on his talents throughout the film's final stages. This unusual relationship highlights how art and conflict can intertwine productively under pressure. As the effects team pushed forward, compositing elements shot at high frame rates with digital layers and physical miniatures, the old and new worlds of filmmaking collided spectacularly. The Domino system, though short-lived in the industry, became the fragile backbone holding Stargate's final sequences together during its most vulnerable moments. With such intense demands, the success of these last-minute effects embodied the film's larger spirit of risky innovation and relentless determination. The triumph of these visual effects ended up shaping how audiences experienced Stargate, blending tangible miniatures, striking practical effects, and pioneering digital techniques. The film's final look paved the way for future sci-fi productions to embrace hybrid methods, affirming the creative power of combining traditional craftsmanship with emerging technology. From enduring searing deserts and stifling helmets to racing the clock with groundbreaking effects, Stargate's journey reveals a world of contradictions where chaos and creativity fueled each other to deliver something truly unforgettable. Next, the story turns to the enigmatic character Ra and the complex, haunting designs that made him unforgettable on screen. The complex design of Ra, J. Davidson's casting as Ra, came about through an unusual path shaped by chance and reluctance. Originally a fashion assistant in London, Davidson was discovered at a party in 1991 and quickly rose to fame after earning an Academy Award nomination for The Crying Game. Uncomfortable with celebrity life and considering a return to fashion, he attempted to decline Stargate by demanding a $1 million salary. To his surprise, the producers agreed immediately. Despite the high-profile casting, production proved difficult. Davidson struggled with memorizing lines, and tensions arose when his performance did not meet expectations. The crew used large cue cards with phonetic spellings to help him deliver dialogue. Early test audiences responded poorly to Ra, seeing the character as too easily defeated by Kurt Russell's hero. These reactions pushed the filmmakers to rethink the villain entirely during post-production. Editors and visual effects artists reshaped Ra into something more powerful and mysterious. They added glowing eyes, layered voice effects, and the concept of an alien parasite inhabiting a human body. This transformation elevated Ra from a human antagonist into a godlike extraterrestrial figure central to the film's mythology. Costume designer Joseph Porro reinforced this identity through elaborate wardrobe pieces made from velvet, lame, leather, fiberglass, and semi-precious stones. Flowing robes, ornate headdresses, and cobra-decorated panels created a regal, intimidating presence. Production challenges continued behind the scenes. Davidson refused to remove certain body piercings, requiring careful camera framing and lighting adjustments. His assistant's sudden disappearance added further stress. Meanwhile, Ra's voice was completely rebuilt in post-production using layered recordings, pitch modulation, and echo effects supported by David Arnold's atmospheric score. Additional subtitles and clearer alien dialogue were added after test screenings revealed confusion. Ultimately, these combined efforts transformed Ra into one of the science fiction's most memorable villains. The collaboration between performance, costume design, sound engineering, and visual effects turned production difficulties into creative breakthroughs, shaping the mythology that later defined the Stargate franchise. The vast scale and beat of Stargate's world-building extended beyond characters, driven as much by clever production choices as visual spectacle. The next chapter reveals inventive set design and budget-saving hacks that made the film's alien planet feel vast and real. Set secrets and budget hacks. To bring the world of Stargate to life, production moved into the massive Spruce Goose Dome in Long Beach, California. Originally built to house Howard Hughes's enormous Hercules aircraft, the dome provided a vast indoor filming space after the plane relocated in 1992. Over 6 months, roughly 300 crew members constructed enormous sets inside, including Stargate Command and the Pyramid ship. Covering more area than 4 football fields, the sets gave the film an impressive sense of scale without requiring a blockbuster budget. The filmmakers encountered financial constraints that restricted their ability to recruit additional performers, even though they had this particular advantage. The crew created an effective method to show large crowds by using stick figures who wore cloth robes. The background contained basic props, which successfully produced the appearance of distant village residents and workers. The team used actual extras from the final battle scenes, together with stand-ins and green screen footage to create a more extensive battle scene. The blending process produced the effect of large crowds while maintaining affordable production expenses. The natural light source created a significant impact on the movie. The crew selected specific times for their desert shooting because the golden hour produced low sunlight that created warm colors throughout the sand and ruins. The short time period created an alien landscape, which brought extra visual value to the film without increasing production costs. The world expanded through the use of miniature models. The artists created detailed miniature city towers and pyramid spacecraft, which contained complex carvings and textures. The miniatures produced authentic visual effects because they were filmed separately outdoors to simulate actual sunlight before being combined with live-action scenes. Working in desert heat and under tight constraints required constant improvisation. The Spruce Goose Dome sets, miniature photography, creative crowd illusions, and strategic lighting all reflected a production driven by ingenuity. These practical solutions balanced ambition with affordability, helping Stargate create a believable alien civilization and demonstrating how resourcefulness can transform limitations into cinematic strength. From these expansive sets and clever hacks, the final chapter delves into how Stargate's combination of practical and digital magic cemented its lasting legacy in science fiction cinema. Legacy of practical and digital magic. Stargate stands as a testament to the fusion of practical effects and early digital technology during Hollywood's transition into the digital era. The production relied heavily on physical models, miniatures, and handcrafted props to create its world, from alien pyramids to desert cityscapes. These practical elements gave the film a grounded visual authenticity that digital tools alone could not achieve in the early 1990s. At the same time, the film embraced emerging digital techniques. The iconic gate ripple and morphing helmet sequences demonstrated pioneering compositing and custom-built software, developed because existing tools could not produce the precise mechanical style director Roland Emmerich envisioned. The slightly imperfect digital effects added an unsettling alien quality that complemented the story. The Serpent Guard helmets exemplified this hybrid approach. Built as heavy physical costumes with battery-powered glowing eyes, they were enhanced through layered compositing and handcrafted morph effects. Actors performed with limited visibility, requiring careful choreography and coordination. The production difficulties of the project showed the same pattern as the experimental work. Visual effects supervisor Jeffrey Oken's unconventional ideas created creative conflicts that advanced the film's innovative development. The production team achieved all special effects through their use of 35mm Panavision cameras and photochemical processes, which required them to execute optical printing and frame-by-frame precision work. The team achieved a highly detailed world through their use of costumes, props, and miniatures, which they enhanced with digital effects. The combination of practical craftsmanship with digital experimentation established Stargate as a visually timeless film while showing how creative restrictions lead to permanent, cinematic artistic expression. Stargate's story reveals how chaos, creativity, and sheer determination can produce timeless cinematic magic. From flawed beginnings to groundbreaking effects and unforgettable characters, the film's legacy still resonates. If you enjoyed uncovering these behind-the-scenes secrets, be sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite movies and shows.